All right, cool. So for the offering this morning, we are going to be talking about a mindset regarding finances. And in Deuteronomy 8 verse 17, we find that the Lord says the following, that we need to beware within His people at that point in time. Nowadays, we know that we are included in the promises to Israel because we have Christ. But beware lest you say in your mind and heart. So it's a mindset thing. It's a heart thing. But that my power and the might of my hand have gotten me this wealth. So he was proclaiming this to a people that he had an inheritance preserved for. They were going to take this promised land. It's a land of milk and honey and of abundance and overflow. And we know that Jesus came and said that I have come that they may have life and have it more abundantly. So we too have an inheritance in Christ. We've become co-heirs with Him. And so we're headed into a situation where we are going to experience this abundance, experience this wealth, and our own promised land, our own land of milk and honey. And there's a warning from the Lord that says that we should beware lest we say in our mind and heart that my power and the might of my hand have gotten me this wealth. There's a mindset out there of people that work hard, that achieve success, and then they're a self-made man. And I'm up here and I take great joy in stating that I am not a self-made man. I am a God-made man. Everything that you like about me is because He's in me, and everything that you don't like about me is because He's working on it. Because by the time I look like Him, you will like everything. But there is a mindset. So Jesus talks about this in Luke 12, and he started it off by telling the people that we should guard ourselves and keep free from all covetousness, which he describes as an immoderate desire for wealth. So there is a desire for wealth which is healthy. By the way, I don't know if you know, but in Jewish tradition, it's not a virtue to not have wealth. It's not seen as desirable in any way, shape, or form. In Christian traditions, sometimes we think that it keeps you humble. But if you go to original Jewish culture, none of that is there. It's a curse to not be wealthy. So there's a desire of wealth that is not immoderate, that is acceptable to the Lord, but to covet, to have a greedy longing to have more all the time, that we are warned against. And he told them this parable. Well, first he gives the reason. A man's life does not consist in and is not derived from possessing overflowing abundance. And that's the mistake we make as people. We think that if we are going to just have it all, and then you can fill in the blanks. I don't have, I'm trusting the Lord for a gun, for instance. I mean, I really like shooting. So, I mean, but if I'm going to place a premium on saying that I'll only be happy when I get there, then that's life does not consist in that. So, and we saw that in the life of the rich young man. He had everything. He was exceedingly rich. He had youth on his side. He must have been healthy, because he's not asking Jesus to pray to heal an illness of his. He was a young ruler, so he had everything, but life does not consist in that, and that's why he was still disappointed. And Jesus warns us that life does not consist and is not derived from possessing overflowing abundance, or that which is over and above your needs. And I think that was demonstrated well in the example of Jesus telling Peter to take a fish, to go fish, put in a hook, and then the first fish that bites had the exact same, at the exact correct amount. But this man, in this parable, he was living in a land, so that it was the land of a rich man. It was fertile and it yielded plentifully. That means that this guy was blessed by the Lord, because you can't live in a land that's fertile and that yields plentifully if God doesn't provide that. And the mindset here was the following. He considered and he debated within himself, what shall I do? There's an I mindset here. So what shall I do? I have no place in which to gather my harvest. And so there's a very inwardly focused mindset with this man, and he comes to this conclusion, saying that I will do this, pull down my storehouses, build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain or produce and all my goods. Now it is his, it's given to him by the Lord, but the thing is, there's no outward focus with this. There's absolutely no outward focus with this. In fact, what he says is, he will say to my soul. So he's talking to his own soul. He's talking to himself here. And he's saying, soul, you have many good things laid up. Enough for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and enjoy yourself merrily. So he had a mindset of gaining enough to retire easily. And then sitting there and just enjoying retirement. With zero outward focus. And the thing is, God says to him, you fool, this very night they will demand your soul of you, and all the things that you have prepared, whose will they be? Because there's no kingdom impact in that mindset. It's all about you and all about what you have now, but it's not about kingdom, and it's not about what is laid up in eternity. And so it's a temporary wealth. It's also a false riches, because it's right here, right now, and once this man dies, then the storehouses are just there, and it goes to whoever. So Jesus says, so it is with the one who continues to lay up and hoard positions for himself, and then the key, and is not rich in his relation to God. So that was the mistake of this man. He's debating within himself, and I mean, if God told him to tear down the storehouses and build bigger ones, then there would be vision for that, and there would be an outflow that would bless people around him, and then you wouldn't have him dying and losing essentially all of this wealth. So it's not about him. It's not about him planning for the future. It's not about him enjoying what God gave him, but it's about involving God to be rich in relation to God whilst you are managing your finances, whilst you are managing your wealth. Because if we read the next verse that was in Deuteronomy 8, then God says the following: you shall earnestly remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you power to get wealth. The Lord provides power to get health. It's a grace on your life, just like the grace of salvation, just like the grace of forgiveness, just like the grace of a victorious life, or just like the grace of flowing in the spiritual gifts. There's a grace that provides you power to get health. And He does this that He may establish His covenant, which He swore to your fathers, as it is this day. Now my question to you is, are you in covenant with God? Because if you've accepted Jesus Christ, then the answer to that question is yes. And this is a great promise then, because if I'm in covenant with God, then He wants to give me power so that He may establish that covenant. It does not honor Him for me to look poor. If I'm built in His image, if I'm presenting Him in His likeness, and He's not poor, then it's not okay if I look poor. It doesn't represent Him properly. So He establishes His covenant, and I pray that over you in this morning, that you will find that His covenant over you is established, and that you discover the power to get wealth. But when you do, like this young man or like this man, then remember what God says about this. Do not forget Him. But to earnestly remember the Lord, to not say that you've done it in your own power, as this guy did. And we have to understand that finances, like any other blessing that we get, is a tool to apply for the sake of the kingdom. And that is where the flow of increase is unlocked. If we use the resources that God gave us, and this includes time and money and energy, everything, if we apply that towards the kingdom, then it's like He says, seek first the kingdom, and all other things were added. We actually experienced this in real time on the camp. So we are there. I mean, You know that we didn't have a church service, and there's nothing that we can do about building Living Victory while we're out there looking at the camps. The next moment, my phone got a beep, and 10,000 Rand was paid into Living Victory, a one-off payment. But that is because He gives power to gain wealth. And now what do we do with that? We have to take those resources and we have to apply it to the kingdom, because then there will be an increase further. But, and this is what I'm going to land it with, Proverbs 10:22 says it's the blessing of the Lord. It's Him giving you the power. It's Him establishing His covenant with you. It's the blessing of the Lord that makes truly rich. Would you rather sit with 10 billion and not know when the next market crash is coming? Because someone like Jeff Bezos, for instance, lost, I think it's something crazy, like 37 billion that was wiped away in March this year with all of the turmoil. So would you rather have 37 billion that can be wiped away in an instant? Or would you rather be in covenant with God, where He says, you know, take a hook and go fish, and the first fish will give you everything that you need? Me, I'm in the second category. I'd rather just live in that provision, because it's the blessing of the Lord that we're after. It's not about the finances. It's not about the material wealth and the material possession. And this is why the blessing of the Lord makes rich, truly rich, and He adds no sorrow with it. Neither does toiling increase it. So the thing is, we can apply what we can apply. I mean, you can labor with God, but your labor is not increasing your wealth. The blessing of the Lord is increasing your wealth. It's still Him giving you the power, and like any other thing, if we steward it well, then it increases.